All right, click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, support channel by joining the channel member or support channel the various other links. Join the Telegram, the Gab, all that kind of stuff. Be warned, those are free speech platforms, so you're going to find a lot of free speech. So this is a challenging video to get through without just glow posting from orbit, because you're dealing with very, very bad people. Now this, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, all right, that's the one surface level topic. And then it is weird how rabbit holes appear before you. It's like, oh, that's just confirmation bias, Mr. Tinfoil Hat. Is it? Because let me show you something. Kind of. We'll get into this girl, E.J. Dixon, who wrote this article that is not supported by facts and evidence. Because you go on Twitter and you find out that, like, no, the support for Johnny Depp is overwhelming, because the article has this weird presumption of, oh, so are you saying that men aren't victims also? Yeah, that's what she said. She said some of the feminist stuff is people deeply, deeply committed to a cause in the face of adverse facts and rationale and evidence. Even like, oh yeah, women are also abusers, and you start sticking up for men's groups, men's rights associations, and family court, and all this kind of stuff, and you see how like, I thought feminism was for everybody. So shouldn't men have equity in family court and the presumption of guilt and innocence when the police make contact on abuse cases? Shouldn't custody and spousal support, shouldn't that be fair and equitable? And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, feminism doesn't represent men anymore. It's like, oh well, men need their own representative groups. Oh no, don't do that. Feminism for everybody, except it's really not. And like, I feel like there's kind of an iceberg with the family court situation, the presumption of abuse. Like you say, the left wing, you guys say you want fair and equitable treatment, except you really don't. You really don't, not at all. You're authoritarians. You want the way it is, unfair treatment. You want the presumptions to be the way they are. Anyway, so the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing, it triggered a lot of the far left wing media for a lot of different reasons, but the rabbit hole starts. It's not just them. It started when I started looking at the girl who wrote the article, because you want to go through and see, like, oh, what kind of articles is she writing? Where is she grinding her axe? And I discovered something disturbing, as I'm going to show you right now. And you're going to have to look at the screen because I can't say this stuff out loud. So these are recent articles that have been, at least within the archive. I don't know how recent these are, but so they're talking about pop culture, political pop culture. And then the third article is kind of weird, talking about conspiracy theories. And as I'll go through a few more articles, it seems to be, if you read these articles, as I did, you say the far right, extreme right wing, alphabet group, that alphabet group, the alternative, dexterous groups, they really want to protect kids. Women and kids, Epstein, Weinstein type of stuff. It's like, that's a far right position, protecting kids from, Epstein's Island, which wasn't a fever dream. It's like Epstein's Island actually happened. Ghislaine Maxwell, and Epstein, deleted himself in prison, and then his partner in France also deleted himself in prison. What a coincidence that was. The cameras just shut off, and Ghislaine Maxwell and the judge Abramovic, the judge recently, got appointed from the lower court. Federal court to the appellate federal court for her district after the Ghislaine Maxwell. Oh, she actually got her sentence reduced last week. And it's weird how the who was it? The judge for the Ghislaine Maxwell case didn't make public some of the proceedings because they were too horrific. Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the judge didn't make the proceedings public. So we're focused on, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but we're not focused on Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. I'm sure Ghislaine Maxwell is going to probably, end up the same way. So this article by Dixon touches on some weird things where she's putting herself in the position of defending stuff that you don't want to defend. So that was a little bit weird. Then, it goes back to pop culture. And then she goes into stuff like this. Prawn, and then the more alphabet conspiracy groups, like everything bad is going to be, everything that protects women and children are going to be far-right conspiracy groups, because women have agency. And then more stuff about conspiracies about trafficking stuff with, cabinets and islands, Epstein's Islands, and kids and stuff. And so she's in this weird position of seeming to defend. Like, people have concerns about this stuff. Hey, I always ask for receipts, facts, and evidence on both sides. There's right-wing conspiracy nonsense for sure, as well as there's left-wing conspiracy nonsense. Always say, okay, well, everything deserves due process, just so we know that we're not going off half-cocked. And then this article pops up where you're gonna have to look at the screen and read it for yourself. There's a girl who is digitally de-aging herself past the age of consent, past the age of majority, because she's an OnlyFans, person, and she's getting older, and so she digitally de-ages herself to sell to a new market, and she's actually doing it. Like, this is all weird. This is all happening, and Sodom and Gomorrah, the Weimar of America. That's how I always say peak Weimar, hoping people will look up the Weimar situation, though I know that half of you guys know what's up with that. So she's actually doing it, and there's nothing to stop her because America's not a nation. It's a commercial zone controlled by wealthy bankers, big tech, media moguls, and NGOs, effectively. It's not, you don't have a representative republic anymore when your representatives are worth $140 million, Nancy Pelosi. You're controlled by, if Bank of America, these financial institutions, Google, all these other companies who are actually running the state. It's not a representative country anymore. It's not a nation. It's a commercial zone. The only way to make it a nation again is to take back parts of it legally and peacefully after constitutional due process, like an amendment or something, just to take some of it back for people who actually want to represent a republic, where politicians are not paid for by Chase Bank or Google or Twitter or whatever. Oh, you mean like the country was kind of designed before it was subverted by globalist people. So this one article kind of caught my attention if you're looking at the screen, because she's actually doing it. She's actually doing that stuff. And this girl who wrote this article is defending it. So that was kind of weird. So yeah, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, it's an interesting case, and with the men's rights issues, and which I get. I was never really into that kind of stuff, but I started looking at it, like, okay, well, family court and the presumption of innocence when police make contact for abuse cases, it's like, that's not fair and equitable. If you believe in the equal treatment of people, equal protection for we the people, then you're gonna have to change the family courts and the police presumption up for abuse cases. Oh yeah. I guess you need to, men's rights issues need to be addressed. That's an issue. So that's an issue, but like the Rolling Stones article is a much more important issue that's kind of below the surface of this girl, this Dixon girl. I would love to do a deep dive into her. I kind of feel like you'd get Isaac Cappy'd if you did do a deep dive into some of these people who are, like when the cabinet thing came out, Isaac Cappy was covering that a few years ago. The cabinet thing came out, and so the story comes out at like noon, and by 2 p.m. the media had written articles saying it was a far-right conspiracy theory. And anyone, you look at that and you go, wait a minute, this is 2 hours. This is impossible. You came out and you said, oh yeah, disavow this is a far-right conspiracy theory. You go, wait a minute, that's impossible. You can't disavow a story in 2 hours. You got to send out emails, and it takes time for them to respond to emails, and you got to put the article together. It takes a couple of days at least. You have to wait for email responses. Otherwise, it's like, oh, we sent out an email, they didn't respond in 20 minutes. Like, oh, this is a bullshit article then. So, but that actually happened. The cabinet stuff came out, and they disavowed it. You look at that like, wait, why isn't this more of a story? Why isn't the media response to it more of a story? You go, okay, so this company, publication that wrote the article disavowing it, you go, so the owner of the thing, the guy who has ownership interest, controlling shares, whatever, is he on the flight logs to Epstein's Island? Oh, he is on the flight logs. So you guys are dipping away from that story, and you're also immediately calling these things far right, extreme, alt conspiracy theories, like within 2 hours. No way to research the stories. It's just you're immediately deflecting and ad hominem these groups, and it's all actually happening. It's like, oh yeah, the media should break this story wide open. No, you weren't paying attention. The media is these people, or at least the media is owned by these people who are on those flight logs. Oh, so nobody's going to break the story wide open. Bingo. Yeah. Oh well, social media, Google and YouTube Twitter. Yeah, they're not going to allow it either because they're controlled by the same people. Oh. So it's like this seething undercurrent of evil that is just waiting to be exposed. Though the people who control the structures, 90% of the structures that expose it, control the narrative. Yeah, bingo again. If you control the narrative, you control everything, almost everything, until people kind of wake up to that. So anyway, 2 days for YouTube. I don't know. I thought I was careful. Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, so important. It is, but not because they're celebrities. It is because the judicial system, the presumptions, the legal structure of how men are kind of underrepresented. More than kind of, men are underrepresented in court proceedings, and that needs to be redressed. The only way for men to redress that is by forming men's groups, because nobody is going to represent them. It's like for European Americans and European interests, like you have to form identity groups to represent your interests, because nobody will represent your interests. And it's, but that's not politically correct for some reason. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. You have to do it anyway. Otherwise, you're going to get men are continuing to get screwed over in family court and a presumption when the police make contact for abuse cases. Like you have to represent yourself like all other groups do. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, support channel if you can, and I'll see you guys all next episode.